All right, in the last section, we have completed the HTML parts of the project. In this section, we're going to style the project using CSS. The first thing we need to do is to create a CSS file here. So I'm going to create a new file here by opening the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E. And here we can click on this icon to create a new file called style.css. Before using the CSS file, we need to add a link to this file within the HTML code. So we need to come back to index.html, and inside the head tag, at the end of the title tag, we're going to add a link tag. We just write down a link and then click on the one with the CSS. This is going to create a link tag with the relationship between the HTML file and the CSS style sheet. And the address is style.css because the both files are located at the same directory. So now we can style our project. First, we start with the set the body style. We just because we want to style some input. When you have an input, you need to add this at the top of your CSS, which is box sizing, border box. This is going to help you to style the boxes like inputs better, because this is going to calculate the extra borders and the space around this input. After that, we're going to target the body section. I'm going to change the background color to something like light gray, which is F2, F2. As you can see, the color is changed. So the CSS file is working. And after that, we're going to change the font family to something called Helvetica. And if this font is not available, I'm going to use sans serif instead. Okay. So we have just styled the body section. Now we're going to start with the container. This div with a class of container, which is going to be in all sections. So if you see the final version, this is the container we have. So for the container, because it has a class of container, we can target that one using dot container. We open a set of curly braces. First thing first, we're going to change its background color to white. Okay. And then we're going to set a maximum width of 600 pixels. As you can see, it's smaller now, but it's not in the center. So what I want to do here is to create a margin. So I just say margin 100 pixels top and bottom, and left and right to be auto. So this is going to have an equal margin to the left and right. And if you remove the zoom level now, because it has 200% zoom. So if you remove it, you can see the box is this size. And then we're going to have some padding, which is the space inside and around the elements inside this container, which is going to be 20 pixels. And let's add some box shadow. So let's add some shadow fact. So 0 and 0 for X and Y, but 10 pixels for blurriness. So you can see we get the blurriness in all direction. And let's change the color of the shadow to be an RGBA, which is the red, green, blue, and alpha. And here we set the red to be 0, green 0, blue 0, which stands for black. And for the alpha, I'm going to set it to be 0.2, which is 20% transparency. As you can see, the shadow. And now we're going to change the border radius, add some border around the corners of 10 pixels. Okay. Looks fine. In the mobile size, we have some margin too. That is nice. And that's it for the container. Next things we want to style is this H1 tag, which is saying tip calculator. So I'm going to go outside this container. I'm going to target the H1 tag here. And then let's add the margin top of 0. We remove the margin at the top, connect it to the wall, and we bring it to the center using text align center. That's it. That's it for the H1. The next things we want to style is the input, these two inputs here. So we're going to target these two inputs by just saying input. So let's add some padding of 10 pixels. Then we're going to have a border of 1 pixels, solid, which is going to be a line, and then the color would be CCC, which is a kind of gray color. After that, let's add some border radius, and we set it to be 4 pixels. So make it rounded in the corner, and then let's add some margin of 10 pixels up and down, and 0 for left and right. And then I want it to be in the all direction, all the screen. So I'm gonna set the width to be 100%. Okay, as you can see, we have two beautiful inputs. Can change the numbers. Okay, and then the next things we want to style the button is this button. We're going to target the button simply by just saying button. So let's change its background color. We just say background, and the color I want to use is 4CAF50. And then let's change the color of the text to be white. We also want to add some padding of 10 pixels. Let's remove the border. So we set the border to be none. And let's make the cursor to be pointers. So when we hover over it, we see a pointing hand in the mouse effect. And then we're going to have some margin, top and bottom 10 pixels, and 0 for left and right. And we set the width to be 100%. Like this. So we have I have added everything now. So we can just make the text bigger. For example, you can just change the font size to be 18 pixels. And then we can just make it uppercase. For example, just say text transform to be uppercase. Okay. That's it for the button. The other things I want to add to the button is when I hover over it, I want to see the color to be different. So I'm going to add a pseudo effect of hover pseudo effect. So we just say hover. And for the hover effect, I want to change its background color this time to 45049 45A049, this color. So, and if you want it to be smooth, you can just add a transition for the background color. So just copy this, and then we just added 0.3 seconds with ease effect. You can see a little bit smoother. Okay, 0.2 would be enough. And the last things we wanna style is this total, the total amount, and we're gonna target that because the total is inside an spam and the ID of total. We can target that one using the ID of total. We just want to change the font size to be 24 pixels and font weight to be bold. And finally, we set some margin top of 10 pixels. Okay, you cannot see it yet. We need to add some values here. For example, I just say 1000. We see the value here, that's bold. Okay, so I'm gonna delete this one because late in the next section, based on the input, we're going to calculate the total amount using JavaScript. So we're going to, first thing first, we want to get the value of these two inputs, and then when we click on the button, we're going to calculate the total amount and show it inside this span, all using JavaScript. So see you in the next section for the JavaScript part of the project.